You're watching
You're watching
West Hartford
West Hartford
Community Television.
Community Television.
Community Television.
For the community.
for the community, for the community,
For the community.
for the community,
By the community.
by the community.
By the community. By the community.
And it's a wrap.
Hello, and welcome back to The Foundation Presents. My name is Mike Schramm, and I am a member of the board for the Foundation for West Hartford Public Schools, a private nonprofit organization dedicated to expanding upon the curriculum taught within the West Hartford Public School system. The foundation was founded in 1997 with the goal of making a small impact in the West Hartford schools, and over the past 20 years has funded over $1.4 million in grants throughout all 17 schools in the West Hartford public school system. I'm here today to introduce you to three educators who will talk about their experience with the foundation and the grants that they conducted with their students in the 2016-17 school year. But I can tell you that in the 2017-18 school year, the foundation has funded 72 grants to the tune of $85,000. All of that money has come from businesses, families, and individuals in the broader West Hartford community and shows the dedication of the residents of West Hartford to the schools that make up the backbone of one of the best towns in the great state of Connecticut. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce my first guest. First, I'd like to welcome Becky Polyuk, a fourth grade teacher at Duffy Elementary School, who's here to talk about her flight simulator grant. But before we get to that conversation, we have a short film of the simulator in action that we'd like to show.
You learn how to control different angles when you're turning into boxes from left and to right. It shows you and it tells you many different landmarks like the Statue of Liberty and different islands and stuff like that.
I learned that it's very hard to control, and every little movement that you make, it makes a big impact on it.
Should other students in 4th and 5th grade have this opportunity, and why?
Yes, because I think I sort of learned from this that like the littlest impact can make a big like change in the world. So it's sort of the same thing with the plane. The tiniest movement makes a big thing. So the younger kids are the same age can learn that little things impact big, but also like how to control a plane.
Well, we flew the simulator and it was very interesting because you learned about speed and geography a little bit and stuff like that, and it was really fun to do.
It was really fun because it's something that you couldn't do in real life that you can make a career out of.
So, in Flight Club, we obviously flew a flight simulator, and I learned a lot of new and great things about like how to fly and how you have to be like leveled out, and you have to have like different angles to land, and also you have to be like at a certain altitude in order to like get the engine enough power to like fly. So it overall was a great experience, and I really love flying it. Is that?
You really have to turn slowly because it's a delayed turn, so it's hard to like be patient with it. So you really have to. So
who is the better pilot?
Me. Yes, you. Very good, you.
Why?
I tend to flip it like that, and then I sort of turn upside down. She, even if she gets out of control, she can recover, and I can't. I sort of die. She doesn't. So, very good. Use more geography to see where you can go up. There's also like how high you have to do, the ground. Of how much you have to move the plane to make it, and that's a lot of calculating involved with that. And like, I didn't realize this, but like you sort of go with the wind, but you have to go up and down, and you have to be on the right side of the river. But sort of part of geography and flying a plane is that you actually like you have to like report to like the air station or something, like this color plane, like yellow and white, flying over certain bridge or like a famous landmark where you have to report. And I didn't know that you had to do that. So I didn't like just geography, like learning what side of the river you have to be on, how far away from the ground you have to be, saying what you need to say when you pass over. It's just a lot of different calculating than you would think you need to do to fly a plane.
Becky, can you tell me a bit about your experience with this grant?
Well, we had the idea for a flight simulator. Before writing the grant, though, we wanted to make sure it was really educationally sound and not just a game or a gimmick for the kids to play. So we actually spent the year prior to writing the grant getting a sample flight simulator for a couple of weeks, actually trying it out, having the kids try it out, trying to figure out what were the kids going to learn, what curriculum really fit into the flight simulator. Then afterwards, we actually sat down and wrote the grant and really tried to connect it to the curriculum of the school. So the kids really were learning something, not just playing a game.
And what was that process like working with the kids? Were there any roadblocks that you didn't anticipate that came up? Or?
Well, it's interesting. One of the things we found out, I wrote it with another teacher, and the plan was I would do an after-school club, he would do I would do the before-school club, he would do the after-school club. The interest was so great, it turned into, I did 2 before-school clubs, he did 2 after-school, and then he even hosted a during-school club for those kids maybe where transportation was an issue.
Wow.
And it's even continued this year. The kids are continuing in the flight club. They love it. It's amazing. One other thing that was interesting was the word has gotten around district that we have it, and there was a child who was doing a quest project on flight and actually asked could she borrow the flight simulator to really investigate, all these things she was reading about flight to see do they really happen in real life. So we actually lent it to her for a couple months, and she did her whole quest project using this flight simulator.
Wow, I mean, it sounds like you have a great problem on your hands with too many students interested in it. Can you tell me how that gets incorporated with the broader curriculum and what lessons students learn from that they take on into the future?
Ideally, when we first wrote it, we really tried to connect it to the Common Core. We were thinking they were going to learn about angles, about speed, about velocity, geography, and they did. They learned so much about geography. They learned so much about angles. Like you saw on the video some of the kids talking about the angles it took to actually land an airplane and how you really have to plan ahead and think about the angles. So there was that, the things on paper that we thought they would learn, but taking away in real life learning, what they really did learn, they talk about patience. They talk about how you can't just go ahead and do something. You have to plan ahead, and you have to have the patience to see it through. And that's what they really learned from it.
Those sound like some great life skills for fourth graders to be learning, because I imagine most of them don't have a lot of patience going into the simulation.
Yes. One thing we also were surprised about was the interest that we had from girls. We had a lot of girls who this was something they were really interested in.
That's great.
And it was something a lot of them said that they hadn't even thought of before because they didn't see it as open to them.
Sure.
And now they're seeing it as a possible career, as a way to go into science. So it was really kind of exciting to have that happen as well.
Wow, what a great example of female empowerment. As a person who cares about women, I appreciate that. Now, was this the first grant that you received from the foundation, or have you worked with the foundation before?
The foundation has been a fantastic supporter for a lot of ideas that I've had. I think in the past 10 years I've had 7 or 8 grants funded by them. So I've always looked towards the foundation when I have an idea to be that outlet for funding that may not exist other places. In my family and in my school, we feel so strongly that we actually have a Paul Uke Family Grant that we fund, where we kind of pay on the other side as well, where we're like, okay, this is such a great foundation and such a great idea. Let's also make sure that other teachers, can have their ideas funded as well.
So you're on both sides of the foundation then. If there was one thing that you could tell either to your fellow teachers who work in the West Hartford School District, or to the parents who have kids in the schools, or to the broader West Hartford community, what would that be?
I would really talk about how the foundation really is a fantastic outlet for teachers to try out new initiatives that maybe, because of budgetary constraints, are not available right now to them. So this is a great place to try.
Yeah, and budgetary constraints, I think, is an issue that will be increasingly important in the coming years as Connecticut reckons with some fiscal challenges that will stress the state and the education system. But these programs are obviously so valuable for so many reasons, and it seems like you've really touched a lot of students in the work that you've done.
It's been great. The foundation is amazing, the opportunities they give to teachers to try out new ideas.
And the simulator that you're working with, now that's obviously up and running far more successfully than we could have hoped for. What do you see as the future for that? Do you think that it will continue to grow as a club that students can work with, or?
I don't think they'll let us stop it. The few months it was gone for the Quest project, the kids were constantly asking, when is it coming back? When is it coming back? And the minute the Quest teacher rolled it back in, they were like, it's back, it's back. Can we start tomorrow? Can we start tomorrow? And it came back on Friday, Monday, and Tuesday we had flight simulator clubs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So they are extremely interested in this.
They are.
How did the parents feel about it? Are they on board too, or?
Well, one really cool thing, and as you saw in the video, some of the kids were interested because their dads were pilots. And we've actually had the parents come in and speak to the flight club about their experiences. So we've been able to involve the parents, and even parents who weren't pilots are just so excited about it. At first they think it's just a video game, but then when the kids come home and start talking about, oh, I flew here, and I got to do this, the parents are so excited and they're really supportive of it.
Wow, well that sounds like a fantastic grant. Becky, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with me.
Thank you.
And now I'd like to welcome Judy Goldenthal, who is a retired teacher who taught for 35 years in the West Hartford Public School System and is now a member of the board of the Foundation for West Hartford Public Schools. Judy, first and foremost, can you talk to me about your favorite grant that you received from the foundation while you were a teacher?
Sure. I taught kindergarten for the last 24 years of my career, and so it was a kindergarten grant from the Norwalk Maritime Museum.
Okay.
And we always tried, when we thought of what we wanted to do to write a grant, we always tried to think of something that we couldn't do ourselves. So the Norwalk Maritime brought in a touch tank. So instead of us getting on a bus and going to the Norwalk, which was pretty far for kindergartners to go, they brought the tank to us. And so the kids were able to touch all of the different sea creatures and learn about them. And then we wrote about them, and we took pictures, of course, and they illustrated, and we made a book from that. So it was a great experience, and they talked about it for months. And that was one of their favorite books to keep reading during the year.
I'm sure. I remember when I was in middle school, we went up to the aquarium in Boston, and the touch tank was my favorite part of it, and I still remember it to this day.
Yeah.
Now, Judy, can you tell me a bit about why you wanted to join the board for the Foundation for West Hartford Public Schools after teaching in the school system?
Sure. And I knew that I wanted to do that when I was thinking about retiring. And it's just what you said about going to Boston and still remembering your experiences there. And I really felt that the grants that teachers get really can transform lives of children, their paths, their learning paths. They might change I didn't even know I could do that, and then that becomes their future. And I also found that when teachers are thinking about what they want to apply for, they become excited, and then when they get the grant, then they're so excited, their students can't help but be excited about it. And so I wanted to be part of that and to really make sure that this continues. That's why I actually joined the board as a grant reader first, and then that transferred into joining the board. But it was the grant reading that I was really most interested in the beginning.
And so would you say that that's been the most enriching part of your experience as a board member, or would something else trump that?
Of reading the grants?
Exactly.
I really enjoyed that. I did that last year as I was coming onto the board, and then this year I was asked to help teachers write their grants, because there's a group of us that go around to the schools when teachers are just starting to write and they need help on getting started. And so once you do that, then you can't read the grants anymore, because it's a blind read. So I did that this year, and I did miss reading the grants, so we'll see what I do next year.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of both.
Yeah, but it was, well, you can't, but it was fun. It was fun helping the teachers too this year. So
what percentage of the teachers in the school system would you say are aware of the foundation? Is it most of the teachers?
Oh, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because my experience also on my first year on the board is that many people in the West Hartford community are unaware of the foundation and its work. I lived in West Hartford for 22 years and went through the public school system from kindergarten to 12th grade, and can't ever recall the name, the Foundation for West Hartford Public Schools, but when I was asked to join, I remember 3 or 4 grants that I participated in as a student. So I'm curious if there was one thing that you could convey to the broader community in West Hartford about the foundation, what would that be?
I would say support the foundation in any way that you can. The What's Cooking that we just did, West Hartford's Cooking, it was a fabulous fundraiser, and it's a great way to support the foundation. All the principals get involved. It was terrific, and it's just so. It would be a shame not to have this resource for the students of West Hartford, especially in this fiscal climate. And it's just it's just a wonderful foundation.
Yeah, I won't speak for you, but I know for myself, the education system in West Hartford is one of the things that makes it the great town that it is.
That's right.
And the state is obviously in some pretty dire financial straits, and the natural worry is what will happen to the education system. We saw the governor's education funding plan that stripped $10 million from funding for the West Hartford education system.
That's right.
And hopefully that won't come to pass through the state legislature, but the fact of the matter is West Hartford might be on the chopping block, and the school system is the backbone of the town, in my opinion, and the foundation really helps strengthen that. And having former teachers involved in the foundation, I think, is a wonderful way of closing that loop starting as a teacher, getting a grant, seeing its impact on kids, and then, like you said, wanting to be on the other side of that, first reading the grants and then helping the teachers actually write the grants.
Yeah.
Because I would imagine, and I'm curious your thoughts on this, how easy is it for teachers to write these grants? I mean, they're pressed for time. They have lots of other things on their docket.
That's right. It's not easy, and a lot of principals have been giving that time to teachers. I know one school that I helped this year, they had a whole day of a substitute so that teachers could come in and work with me for about 15 minutes at a time.
Wow.
So a teacher was out of the classroom for 15 minutes, they would go back, somebody else would come in, and that was very helpful. So that just kind of got them started, and then they could finish it on their own time.
When you were a teacher in the school system, was there that kind of institutional support behind the teachers working with the foundation, or is that something that's relatively new?
I had very good principals in that way, that they were very supportive of it. I don't remember ever given that time during the day to do it, but we are always encouraged to apply.
Okay.
But it was wonderful to see the creativity, the thinking outside the box, what can I do to, looking at their curriculum and saying, okay, how can I really enhance this for the students? It's West Hartford has a great reputation and deserves it.
Yeah, the quality of the teachers is unparalleled in my opinion, and I think that one of the reasons that we're doing this show in the first place is to raise awareness for the foundation and what it does, and a major component of that is bringing on teachers who can explain what it is that they're doing with the money that is so generously contributed by businesses and families in the town.
Right.
But another important part, I think, is board members like the two of us spreading the word about the foundation and its impact on students and on teachers. And I think that having that kind of institutional support for teachers is in many ways just as crucial as the final educational outcomes for the students.
Yep, I agree.
Would you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Judy, thank you so much for coming on and sharing some of your experience, both working with the foundation as a teacher and working for the foundation as a board member. This was a really illuminating conversation, and I hope our audience members agree.
I hope so. Thank you.
Thank you again for watching another episode of The Foundation Presents. If you would like to support the Foundation for West Hartford Public Schools, please go to fwhps.org.